If it's this bad already, how bad will it be in 20 years? This isn't sustainable. People with regular jobs like mailman or grocery worker could afford a house and sustain a family. Just 60 years ago. Nowadays people with degrees are hard-pressed to pay rent. The workload was far less 60 years ago than it is today. People worked harder, but they were expected to do 1/2 or 1/3 of what people are expected to do now, and had far less pressure and stress. I can't imagine the work pressure people will have at their job in 20 years. Or what it will require to be able to pay rent in 20 years. This isn't sustainable. Everything is just getting worse and worse. My dad thinks if I just keep my head down and work hard, good things will happen. I've been working since I was 19 and that's yet to happen. I'll be 30 this year. If anything, I get taken advantage of or nothing happens at all. Also thinks that if I can get into our local USPS office, I'll be set for life as government jobs pay. He's 63. He's still working as a realtor and in the roofing construction trade. I still live at home. I shouldn't be, but my life didn't turn out well after high school. This is the end result. The current system is a self-destructive feedback loop. After the Industrial Revolution happened, people started fighting for their rights, unionizing, etc. In Russia, the elites would not compromise, and so a revolution happened and they were destroyed. In the United States, eventually certain elites realized that compromising was the better choice. They created things like minimum wage, a social safety net, labor standards, etc. These compromises basically saved capitalism and saved the system from collapsing into eventual revolution. Average people were still kept poorer than the elites, but wealthy enough to live decent lives and feel they had decent opportunities. When people aren't starving, going homeless, etc., they are much more likely to remain apathetic and just go along with the system. However, in the modern day, the usefulness of this compromise has been completely forgotten by many in the elite. More and more bankers, major stockholders, billionaires, etc., have found new ways to siphon as much money as possible from people. The creation of credit cards is a huge part of the economy to keep people consuming even as they go into debt, and then hold that debt over them. The use of short-term contracts and other similar things to stop employees from having protections. Stock buybacks to enrich stockholders at the cost of the company's actual stability. Crushing unions while people weren't paying attention cause they were too apathetic because things were alright. All little tricks that the super wealthy have found to get the money from our pockets. But now it's becoming unsustainable again. People are having a harder and harder time making ends meet and don't trust peaceful democratic means to secure that for them. And you can see this in how much the political system is destabilizing. The people at the top of the economic ladder have drawn all of the economic and political power to themselves. They have given themselves nearly total control, but they're so disconnected that they don't realize they're taking so much that it's destabilizing the very system they all rest their wealth and power on. In my opinion, there are really only a few possible outcomes. 1. The fall of democracy and the creation of a dictatorship through a demagogue who fools frustrated people into believing they will solve their woes. 2. The establishment of some weird new plutocracy, where the United States democracy is erased almost entirely and the country is basically divided up completely into corporate fiefdoms like the return of company towns and all that stuff. But bigger. 3. The re-establishment of the compromise that people like Roosevelt established. A return to sharing the increasing riches among average people, but leaving the basic system intact. Things like a 4-day workweek, higher minimum wage, tighter labor regulations, etc. But everything else remains the same. 4. A peaceful revolution where we see things like the power of labor unions increase. We see ever more reformist candidates in Congress, etc. And eventually the dam bursts and a new compromise is established on the terms of labor. 5. The violent collapse of the whole rotten structure. I don't think I need to describe what this looks like. Elysium the movie is looking quite realistic these days. Relax, we'll be back to being slaves in 20 years. It's capitalism. It's 100% capitalism. Money is supposed to act as proof you've done work to earn said money. The problem to which we've come is people have found a way to bring in money without actually performing work. In order to do that, someone has done the work to bring in that money, but they aren't receiving the proper monetary equivalent of the work they did. This country will collapse if things don't change. We will have a huge homeless population in the next 10 years if we don't. We desperately need labor reform and wages. We have to pull up wages to what they should be. About 45% of U.S. workers do not make a living wage. We need real housing solutions. We need to get effective social programs. I am so tired of being told I don't want to work or that I should have chosen a different career, like we can all do the same 3 jobs. When our bellies ache for food and we realize the only people who own the land on which to grow it, the seeds to plant it, and the means to distribute it are the ones withholding it until we further deepen their pockets, only then might we start to do something about it. Or we can start organizing a general strike now. There's talk of May 1st. 2028. Until then, we need to get busy creating systems of mutual aid so we can cumulatively weather a long strike. Period. Residential property has long since stopped being homes, and is now seen solely as investment. As the rich get richer, their money needs to go somewhere. So over the last 30 years it's gone into property, previously owned by the middle class. This means more passive income for them too. Yes, you guessed it. Buy more properties. The housing crisis is driven by rich people buying investments from each other. This means traditional, middle-class housing is now only available to high-income families. It's not going to get better without wealth redistribution, and that is something that the ruling class will fight tooth and nail to prevent. I am 70 and worked. Retired 5 years. Since 1967. This latest change really happened in 2008. The recession caused a massive shift in how management behaves. I remember a boss at that time addressing the latest layoffs and the fact that we were now severely understaffed. He just said, if you don't like it, go ahead, quit and see if you can find another job. This was shocking at the time. But today it is common practice. I remember jobs with 5 weeks vacation, 12 holidays, paid to be on call, paid if you needed to use your phone for work, bonuses, yearly raises, paid lunchtime, pensions. Don't be gaslighted. It was never like this. For any that are curious, I never got my college degree and did just about everything under the sun. I got to management level on my last job, loved by my team, but never got past second level manager because I just couldn't go along with this new employees are fodder for the mill mentality. Here's the only answer that matters: rich people don't care. Unions and rebellions are the only way. Life is for rent. It's gonna be bad. I'm about 11 years from retirement. I really don't envy anyone under the age of 30 now. In 60 years there probably won't even be enough well-paying jobs for most people. The government will probably have to find some way to subsidize most of the population with the way AI is going. It's been foretold that a day's work will be a day's wages. Unfortunately, due to the way the system is set up, greed, workplace abuse, intolerable work environments, etc., crime will go up. Why? Because of survival instinct, fear, and pain, frustration. It makes no sense how many go to university for years only to come out with not even a sustainable wage to take care of themselves. How most jobs don't pay worth a damn, let alone having children. Speaking of children, that will one day only be possible for the rich. The poor can't afford it. Doesn't mean they still won't have kids, but the upbringing and quality of life will be desolate in comparison. The cycle of wrongdoings may repeat as a result. That's because we are in civilization collapse cycle. Looks like no matter how advanced technology we have, there is no solution to human nature. People are at the breaking point. There's still a few people burning the candle at both ends to try and get ahead, but they'll soon see the writing on the wall. It's time for leadership to tell us what to do again, instead of some super vague goal that's no more useful than make more money. It's not the people doing the work job to figure that stuff out. That's management, and you also have to tell us how you want it done. Not just that you want it done. I'm done doing management's job for them. They kick and thrash a little, but when push comes to shove and questions start getting asked, they don't have a leg to stand on if they're not giving clear direction. I got burnt out and took my most recent job because I just wanted to be a cog in a machine and not deal with office politics and etc. It's an interesting perspective when you're not trying to climb the ladder, and if you've never experienced it, I recommend it. Insert meme less than you have no power here. Demand age limits, term limits, and ban all stock trading for Congress and SCOTUS. 1. Society is collapsing. 2. Jobs have been making a shift towards specialized advanced degrees and hard tech skills.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.